Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1214 of our daily content grind, and today is a very rare day on the channel because I'm actually going to be discussing something third party. You know me, on this channel, I'm not huge on third-party Transformers. I will very rarely dip if it's something that I think Hasbro is just not going to pull off themselves at any point, you know? I don't want to have to wait 20 more years to get Masterpiece Beast Wars toys, so that is why I have the Transart Transmetals. Like that, I make little exceptions here and there. Same with Blitzwing. Blitzwing's probably 10 years off from getting a Masterpiece. If I want to have one now, I have to go third party. But for the most part, I view myself as a Transformer channel. And these are technically not Transformers. These are custom pieces that are mass produced. So I don't really go for them. And a lot of times the cost is extraordinary for what they are. I feel like just being happy with what you get and just learning to not like pick at every single individual fault a toy has at retail price makes you a lot happier than spending triple the price to get the same experience, just a little bit more solid or a little larger. I've got a lot of thoughts on third party, which I think we might start getting into a little bit more around here. But this week in particular, there's one toy that's just been floating around and hitting literally everything I have ever tried to peek my head into. Any forum, any social media, my own Discord. And everyone's kind of going nuts over the exact same third-party toy. And yeah, it's a Metroplex. And you would think that we've had third-party Metroplexes before. They're always ridiculous. They're very expensive. They are, very large. But we have a winner now. We have a winner for the most audacious release third-party has ever done. Let me introduce you to M01 Steel Fortress from W Resources. What you are looking at is it's a Generations styled and inspired Metroplex that happens to be 4 feet tall in robot mode, and that's to the height of his head. If we throw in the guns, he's just over 5 feet tall, weighing in at approximately 88 pounds. This is an absolute behemoth. This is the size of a 9-year-old child. I did the research on that one. I'm not just throwing a number at you. That's the average height and weight a 9-year-old should be. Kind of ridiculous. And it's a toy. It's a toy. This is like a piece of furniture you can play with. So if this shot doesn't just convey the size to you enough, seeing all the different types of toys in the background, some of them you're going to be familiar with. Let's try this shot. So this gives you a little bit more of an idea. So the one sitting on top is, I believe, the Titan Hunter repaint of Windblade. That is a Warrior class toy, so about 4.5 inches tall. Stands on its head with no issue whatsoever. Kind of insane. This exists. People are starting to get this in hand overseas. We are starting to get like pictures of it, as you can see, by way like Weibo. If you still need another, just to get this apart, just to get this completely conveyed, there it is with other Titans. There is the original Generations Metroplex next to the Fortress Maximus retool of it. Yeah, it comes up just past the knee. That's absurd. Look at the width of it. The width of it is insane. Also insane is the fact that his left shoulder is just kind of floating off the torso like that. That could have been a little bit better. So yeah, are we clear about just how ridiculously oversized this toy is? Like, the object here is to come as close as possible to scale for a Metroplex as they can. And to be honest, it still misses the mark unless you're using like smallest transforming Transformers or like the smallest Legend scale Transformers in third party. This is absurdly big. This is the most over-the-top I've ever seen third-party go for any kind of transforming toy. If you want more, here it is in the city mode, completely littered with various transformers. So a lot of this is third-party stuff, legend scale, kind of hard to discern the size if you're not familiar with each and every third-party producer. But we will help you out a little bit. Front and center, you can see there is a G1, I believe a G1. It looks G1 from the age of the tracks, the brown color. Yeah, a G1 Omega Supreme. If you look just behind it, you see the city mode of Generations Metroplex. Off to the left, we see the Titan class Omega Supreme in base mode with Trypticon right behind him. Yeah, it is absolutely absurd. And I'm just going to keep conveying how absurd it is by showing you that the guns are the size of Nerf blasters. They could have sold this alone as a toy, and it would have been an expensive and oversized, piece of plastic. Okay, so I've had to do all that. I have to show you all these examples just so we can kind of talk about some of the biggest things about this, which are my concerns over it. Don't get me wrong. Now, this is not a video for me to gush about how cool this is. Oh, no, look at, my God, it's a 4-foot-tall Transformer toy. This is absolutely insane. This is the coolest thing ever. No, it's not. No, it's not. Hear me out. I am here to advise an overabundance amount of caution when it comes to this piece. For starters, $1,300. If you can find it cheaper, it's because there's some place there where you're going to have to pay the shipping price on this, which will be in the hundreds of dollars. So this is already ridiculously expensive. I will point out, there are very expensive third-party toys out there, repaints of combiner teams that reach close to $1,000. This is the most expensive I have seen for a third-party piece, however. And understandable for the price. But I want you to keep $1,300 in mind when we start talking about this, because if you are upset over Titan class pieces missing things like mini-cons, yeah, you're going to have reason to be upset over this one too, and we will get to that shortly. I also want to point out here, this only ships to the US. It's very difficult to ship it internationally because of the size, so sorry there. You are going to have to pay for it out of China and get it shipped to you. This is also freight only, which means it, depending on your area, depending on the shipping service, this might be really, really frustrating to actually obtain for yourself. This is the kind of thing you might actually have to go to a shipping depot to pick up, and you're going to need a truck and access to a forklift to do it. If this is getting shipped through someone who does freight to your front door, hope that they actually have the equipment to get it to your front door. A lot of those trucks do not. They will leave it by the curb, and you are left on your own after that one. Have friends. Have friends or a forklift. That's all I can say. So keep all this in mind. Now, for starters, let's be honest here. This is hardly the most expensive thing in Transformers, official or otherwise. We have this thing that I railed about because it's $4,500 because it is made mostly of real silver and it is handcrafted. And I think there's only 10 of them. I think only 10 of them ended up being made. So let's not get this wrong. This is not about price as far as just like how outlandish this is. I know there are whales in the community who are going to be more than eager to drop the $1,300 this is going to cost. Plus tax, by the way. Plus tax. So you're probably looking at closer to you're probably looking at over $1,400. We're just gonna keep the price in mind as we talk about this, but understand, yeah, I'm not harping on it just because it's expensive, because yeah, of course it is. 4 feet tall. My first concern is weight. 88 pounds is a lot for a toy to weigh. So I'm gonna show you the listing on the Show Z store, because here they actually gave you a warning. So you have a warning here in the red. The key areas of the body, shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, etc., are all gear joints, which is to say they are ratchet joints. it's recommended not to stand for long periods. It's best to place it in city mode to avoid deformation. This thing is already huge, and verticality is going to be the only thing that lets you actually keep it in your living space. Can you imagine how much space it's going to take up to keep it in city mode? Also, that means in order to see it in its grandeur, you're going to have to transform it, and then at some point transform it back to city mode in order to keep it safe. With that in mind, I'm going to point out to you that some of the photos that you've seen are from the first guy who actually got it in hand to do full review of it. And the man admitted in the video that 3 days into the filming, he hurt his back too much to continue it. So he didn't get to show off the transformation into city mode. This is a toy that can physically harm you because of its weight. It is like wrestling a small child. It is not easy. It is not fun. And it is expecting you to do this literally every time you want to mess with it or show it off. That is not a promising prospect for me. I also want to point out, this does not come with any kind of aid for said weight problems, because even HasLab Unicron was smart enough to realize that at, 25, 28 pounds, somewhere around there, that this thing that's, 2.5 feet tall probably needs some extra weight support just to make sure it can stay in robot mode on display. Yeah, absolutely, this thing should have come with something to support its weight a little bit better. In that case, it would have been, I don't know, now $1,300, and it doesn't come with any stand to help the weight. That is already starting to look a little bit iffy. I also want to point out the joints on the thing from the said video that I discussed sound terrifying, because they don't sound like crisp, nice ratchet joints. So, like, ratchet joints would absolutely help with the weight issues, but the problem I have with it is they sound very plasticky. They sound very hollow, very low-pitched, like modernized ratchet joints you hear on some Titans, like the knees that kept breaking on your tidal waves. That kind of thing. It sounds like those really hollow, really bad ratchet joints. They don't have that nice, like, click to them. And that could be a size thing, but also it sounds fragile. And frankly, there's just better options. There's better ways of doing it. So this piece from YOLO Park, this uses like an entire steel structure for its like internal skeleton that lets it do like full mechanical movements that are far like smoother than ratchet joints, but they are also very stiff and they hold weight well. But even YOLO Park realized that wasn't enough. This toy has little features in it, little switches, little knobs that you can turn that are actually going to lock its joints into position in order to help hold up its parts over a long period. So you can leave it this way in whatever pose you want, and that's actually going to help out the joints to survive longer. That's another thing to keep in mind. If you want to pose your Metroplex at any point, you're going to have to realize that, like, holding out the arms for long periods, that's going to weigh on the shoulder joints a lot more than just having it weigh down to the side. More things that could potentially cause a break at some point, hence why Show Z Store recommended caution. Now, if you do go to Show Z Store now, that caution was removed, I assume because the manufacturer got upset that they're warning people that their $1,300 toy is too fragile. But take that warning for what it is. It was up there for a reason when it first got listed. Also, there's just better ways of handling joints. Like, you can do like push button joints where you just like push a button and it's all steel, and it's like steel wheels and pins inside that handle the articulation. You just hold the button, move the joint, release the button, and it holds there, and it's metal holding things up, not plastic. The ratchets in this toy sound very plastic and scare me. Also, I think it's very telling that I've yet to see a pose of anywhere I have looked that actually show the knees bent. That would be the biggest test of whether or not this thing can hold its own weight, if the knees actually bent. I'm not even sure that they do, since I have not seen any physical proof of it. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And now it looks like they have it, but I have not seen the reviewer yet who was comfortable with it. It's also worth pointing out that early reviewers of this, from what I have heard, also give warnings of breakage. So yeah, that's something to be warned about. Now, let's take a look at this thing again, without a whole bunch of stuff on it. And I'm just going to flat out tell you, this might be the most boring city mode I've ever seen in my life. This looks pathetic. This looks lame. And it looks lame for a lot of reasons. Now, I understand you're going to go on like, but, you know, like Metroplex never really had any, like, really good transformation anyway. Like, the base mode always looked like junk. It used to look better than this. I'll tell you, that, like, for starters, like, what good are the ramps? What good are the ramps on the legs if they can't reach the ground? Like, how do I drive my car from the ground up onto where the cars are supposed to be driving around? You know, in that case, they're landing strips, which is not the original intent of the design. There is no additional parts in order to make the city look more robust. No parts from a communication tower, no extra tower itself. You know, like the arm does not have any deco on it to make it look like that. There's no antenna at the top of any of the towers here. You know, then it just looks weird. It just looks really weird. And the biggest thing to me is they're using the front of the legs for the city mode, and every time Hasbro's ever done a Metroplex, which admittedly is only twice, but that said, they got it right. The legs rotate around and use the back side of the legs for the base mode. That way, they can be flat to the ground, and you can roll a car from the floor right onto the base. That's how it's intended to be designed. Something else that bugs me about that one, little things, you know, like there's nowhere for the hand to fold away. You know, like at least the HasLab at least folds the wrist down so it looks like a black block at the front of the whatever that's supposed to be. Point being, I will admit the Generations Metroplex, not the best city mode either, but it's doing a better job than this. And it's doing the most important thing a Metroplex has to do, which is create a separation between its battle station mode and its base mode. They have to look different, where it's, this one kind of looks the same in both modes because it's, the bottom half is the same with just a different leg, position. So it comes across very boring to me. Now, and it also, because it's lacking the right articulation for it, it can't do this. So I had to go to Reddit and a post from BWing83 in order to actually get this shot. This is my preferred Metroplex look. Look at that. You've got the extra antennas that make the towers look taller. You've got Slammer adding to the height of one of said towers. You've got the head tucked away far enough that you can't tell it's just a head. It looks like a weapon emplacement there. You have the parts of the legs that fold out into the little garages for your smaller vehicles. You've got the knee joint, the kneecaps that form little tunnels at the front of the base. And then most importantly for me, you have the chest ramp that goes all the way to the floor. On the new one, it can't do that. It can go to one of the legs, it can go to one of the runways, and that's it. This just looks so much cleaner. This looks so clean. This looks so nice. And understand, $1,300, and all you're paying for is the size. Really, that's all it is. You're not paying for a good-looking base mode because it's missing all the parts of 6-gun. It's missing Slammer. It's missing the extra towers. It's missing, all the stuff that would make it look like a battle station, a base mode. And then, why? When it's already this big and expensive, why wouldn't you just throw all that stuff in so it's a complete package? I don't understand. If you're upset over a Titan missing a Minicon, I want everyone to be upset over the fact that this Metroplex is missing so many parts that are supposed to make it, look far more like a city, and then it just doesn't. It just kind of looks like it's battle station mode, slightly posed differently. Again, I think the Generations one is doing a disservice because look at it. The Generations one, they're just sticking out the back, so it's not that impressive. This, I think, is actually worse because they're just folded up underneath. It doesn't look like a mode. because he's using the front of the legs and because there's no real transformation in the upper body, he just kind of looks like he's sitting down, right? And then there's parts like, you see the railing in the back? It's hard to see, but it's behind the head and all the guns. The railing, you have to attach afterwards. It's not part of the actual transformation parts. You have to stick that on yourself after. So aside from $1,300 and it's missing key parts from the original Metroplex, it's also part formery, just a little bit. Just a little bit. The original one didn't look like much either, but look at it. They actually tried. You know, like all the parts for 6-gun made it look very heavily armed. You know, you have flip-out weaponry that's specifically for this mode. The antenna that make the city mode look more like a city actually has another purpose here as extra guns. And the arms collapse, so they look more like a heavy block in the front. And again, this is the only mode where you can actually see, you know, the landing strips. This looks way better. You know, it just does. And the big thing for me, and remember, this is all just like a word of warning. I know it's super impressive. I know it looks really, really cool. But understand, for the price point, it's missing a ton. I have a lot of fears about its structural integrity and how well those joints are built. And like, I've seen the videos. It's wobbly. When someone picks it up, it's super wobbly. When someone tries to move the joints, it's super wobbly. It does not look or sound secure in any way. It's just designed to be big. But what worries me about it the most, it's the company's only release. This is the first thing they've tried to do. No one's made a toy yet. This is their first attempt. You know, a lot of third-party companies have a really bad first attempt because it's the first time they've ever made a transforming toy. First time they've ever made any action figure. They have no idea what's going on. They have no idea if what they've designed is actually going to exist in a 3-dimensional space when it's made of physical parts and has gravity to worry about. Yeah, I'm just gonna let you soak all this in. I am providing a cautionary tale. I am telling you right now, I have a lot of concerns about this. I don't want anyone to jump on as an early adopter, because this is just how it is as a toy. You imagine, as it part of your life, how much space it's going to take up. What if you move and this thing has to come with you somehow, some way? What if you need to resell it? What on earth are you going to do if you have to resell this thing? It comes shipped in 4 huge cases. And I'm not sure if you can even break it down after you assemble it. Yeah, for $1,300, you have to assemble it yourself, too. They didn't do that part for you. Everything about this just screams nightmare to me. So I'm hoping sensibility comes through here and we don't just jump on board, because this is like a jumping the shark moment for third party. This should be like the limit. This should be like, this has gone way too far. Dial it back. Stop reaching for the sun. So time will tell just how long it'll be before this thing starts breaking down on people. Like, legitimately, at its weight, that plastic and those joints cannot hold up that weight for very long. It will eventually start buckling and breaking under its own weight. It just will. We will see how long that takes. So, my fair warning, don't be an early adopter. See how it does. And more importantly, you can find so many better toys to spend that much money on. Seriously. But that's going to do it for me today, as I warn you about the most ridiculous toy that's ever existed. So, thank you very much for watching. Please purchase cautiously, and I will see you next time. You've been waiting a long time, haven't you? But the wait's almost over. You're about to meet the brightest star in the universe. We're going to make an impact.